Ladies and gentlemen, we're extremely excited to be joined now by just an unbelievable guest right here. I know he doesn't need an introduction because he is the king of all badasses. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dave Evans. Dave, thanks so much for joining us for this interview.
Yeah, no, it's all right. My pleasure.
All right. So, Dave, we've heard plenty of interviews with you in the past. They're all over the internet, and we want to get a little more in depth. I'm a die-hard AC/DC fan. Elijah's a pretty big AC/DC fan. We want this to be about AC/DC and about tons of other things too, because your music expands from so much beyond AC/DC. But
yeah, that was a long time ago. Yeah,
exactly. And we want to start with the basics. And you begun your career with the band, and you released "Can I Sit Next to You, Girl" and "Rockin' in the Parlor." We all know about that. Was there anything else that you wrote or even recorded with the band that we haven't heard, or maybe Bon re-recorded instead? And do you feel like the band should eventually re-release that type of stuff? A few years back they re-released Backtracks, which had stuff going all the way back. Was there anything else that was done with you on it?
Yeah, I recorded rock and roll singer, soul stripper, Little Lover, for our first album, and also written a couple of songs with them as well. One was called Sunset Strip, which Bon changed the lyrics to and became Show Business. And another song that I wrote with them called Fell in Love, which I think they love song for Gene or something. It became, they rewrote the lyrics for that one. So we had quite a few tracks down for our first album. And I don't think Elvis would probably ever release them, but I know that the AC/DC fans would love to hear them, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that everybody would love to hear this stuff, and I find that very interesting that this stuff was rewritten. And it's amazing. You especially talk about Show Business. You're talking about Jailbreak '74. There, it must be amazing hearing something like that come out so many years later.
I haven't really sort of taken as much interest in AC/DC as a lot of people think,
Right.
Because after I split with the band, I was with the Wild Rockers there from Newcastle, Australia, Rabbit, and we were busy doing what we were doing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And then the next minute I heard that they'd left to go to Europe, to England, to live in London, that kind of thing. And really, the only songs that I knew of AC/DC were the ones that were being played on the radio like everybody else. I didn't buy any of their albums or anything like that. Not because I had a bias against them. It was just, I was busy doing my own stuff.
Absolutely.
And of course, when I heard that Bon had died, that was a shock to me as well. So yeah, I just heard stuff on the radio, same as everybody else.
Gotcha. Yeah. I'm sorry, Elijah. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm just curious. Did you ever personally meet Bon? What was your relationship like with them, if you had any, with Bon Scott?
Yeah, Bon used to hang around with us when we played in Adelaide, because he was based there at the time. We had a hit record, top 5 in Adelaide. We were doing all the big shows there, and he used to hang with us. And he's a nice bloke, and very funny guy. Always cracking jokes and that kind of thing. And he used to watch us performing, and he used to see me there with Bon Scott, with Angus on my shoulders and all that kind of stuff. And obviously he thought that was a good idea. So obviously when he joined the band, he kept the tradition going, and Brian does the same thing. So a lot of things that I did, he did copy, the no shirt stuff and all that kind of thing, because he was in a sort of hippie band, fraternity at the time, and they were all sort of bibs and like beards and the hippie kind of thing. So he changed his image when he joined the band to become a rocker. He was very versatile, because before that he was with another band, the Valentines. All satin and page boy hairstyles and stuff. So, he's an actor, and he's able to adapt to the different bands that he was with. And then I met Bon afterwards as well. When he joined AC/DC, I was with Rabbit at the time, and we were both recording albums at Albert's studios in Sydney, and we just bumped into each other accidentally, really, in the coffee room, and we had a private chat between the two of us, and we shook hands at the time and wished each other the best of luck, and that's the last time I saw him.
That's great to hear that it, was a really good relationship there. And, you talked about him taking stuff from you. I guess he got his teeth fixed to take after you as well. That's...
Yeah, well, I knew they were making money, actually. At the time when I saw that Bond had his new teeth, I went, they're starting to make money now.
Well,
it's funny, I did, yeah.
No, I do not doubt that at all. That's the best part. When you're talking about bands, there's so many of these small stories that end up carrying through time. And, one of the things that has carried through time, it is you leaving the band. And we are going to talk about Rabbit, we're going to talk about Waltzing Matilda, all that in a few minutes. But, when you left the band, you left in 74, there are many different rumors. There were hard feelings, there weren't hard feelings. It was over a manager, or wasn't. When you look back on it, how do you describe it? How do you describe the splitting of it?
We've been through quite a few different players. Onto our third manager, our third bass player, our third drummer, and that kind of stuff. And the band was evolving pretty quickly, and our record was just tearing up the charts, and we were doing the biggest shows in Australia. Malcolm and Angus and I sort of fell out, I suppose, because, believe it or not, I was very, very popular with the fans.
Oh, yeah,
Female fans.
Charisma, man, charisma.
Yeah, there was a lot of jealousies going on with the two boys. And then by the time we were touring with a hit record, the new bass player and drummer that we had, our third lot, I really wasn't really friends with them. The manager, I had a fight with him in the room, bang, we were into each other about stuff, and it was just really, really bad towards the end. I wasn't going out with the guys anymore after the show. The shows were fantastic. We were killing it everywhere we went. We had a hit record. But when you're on the road all the time and you've got 4 or 5 guys that you're travelling with and you really don't have a friend there, and it's just very, very lonely. And, I left the band after I had a fight with the manager in the hotel room.
Yeah,
I just said, that's it, I'm finished, I'm going. But the next morning when we all sobered up and realised that we had all these shows to do, and we were then heading off from Adelaide to Perth because it was top 5 over there as well, we decided to keep the band together to finish the tour and all and have a meeting at the end of that particular tour. So I stayed with the band, and but by the time we got to Melbourne for the last show, it was obvious that it was not going to work.
Right.
And that was the end of that, and I flew back to Sydney.
Are there any hard feelings today?
Well, you can't have hard feelings. I mean, I've been in plenty of bands, and the guys that have been in bands realise that the guys come and go. And
Exactly.
For different reasons. Sometimes it's musical differences, which it wasn't in this case, but personalities do play a big role in it, and you've got to be friends, you've got to be mates, and thankfully, every other band that I've been with, I've been very close with the players. Rabbit and the guys at Thunder Down Under, and the guys that I work with around the world at the moment, the Badasses in the UK, and the American Badasses, and the boys in Australia, the Australian Badasses. They're all very close friends, and
that's good.
And it's fantastic. So,
I mean, there's things that people say that when you're with people for such a long time, like you were with AC/DC touring, it's like you love them and you get sick of them. Is that kind of like what you felt?
Well, as I said, it was really just the nastiness, and I hate to say it, of the two young brothers. They were just nasty. You don't need that. As I said, I was very popular with fans and that kind of thing, and I don't want to go too much into it, but you've got to be friends. I mean, real friends.
Right, absolutely. You don't want to fake it.
Yeah, exactly. And the other two guys that said that we had, by the third bass player and drummer, we weren't real friends. We got on all right, but when you're touring and you're making music together, you've got to be friends. And like even when Bon Scott died, I mean, he died alone in London. In a car and all that sort of stuff, and I just wonder where his mates were, because that shouldn't have happened. That shouldn't have happened.
Absolutely. Now, I want to kind of just start beginning to wrap up the AC/DC part of this. your fan response ranges from your diehard supporters. I mean, we all love you on Facebook. You interact with all the fans fantastically. And believe me, people do appreciate that. And it ranges between that and, then there are some skeptics, especially some AC/DC fans, some skeptics who say, his time with the band wasn't all that important to how it was. Do you feel that there's any friction between you and some of the AC/DC community?
There's been a few interviews, and Malik Morangus or whatever, so they're still nasty to this day. They haven't grown up, they haven't got over it, and that influences the fans, of course, because they love the band so much and they love those guys, and if they're going to still be nasty, that influences the fans, so they think they've got to be nasty to be in with those guys, that kind of thing. Right. But the thing is, a lot of those guys have not heard my music.
Exactly.
And they haven't seen me performing because when I toured Germany the first time, it was quite a few years ago now. I told the promoter, just get people in through the door. I don't care if they come in and throw rocks at me. I said, just get them in the door and let me do the rest. And that's what happened. And front page in one of the newspapers.